Just like the street lights lit this town, like a fire in a blaze, gotta burn it down. Can't be afraid to leave this out. We got this far, don't know how. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we're gonna let it away. Tonight, we're gonna let it away. Tonight, we're gonna let it away. Just like the sunrise, we're gonna let it away. Just like a spark that's breaking out. Can't make a stop, can't turn back now. We know that there's no room for doubt. No, we can't turn back now. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we're gonna let it away. Tonight, we're gonna let it away. Tonight, we're gonna let it away. Just like the sunrise, we're gonna let it away.
Hey guys, welcome in. Welcome to tonight's stream. Welcome on in. There's been a StreamYard update and a YouTube update, I believe. So if the chat looks a little different, we'll go over that in just a moment. But welcome in everybody to tonight's live. It's Wednesday, the 28th of May. Hopefully you guys are getting through the work week or the week in general, getting through it. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay. You should be able to hear me okay. I've set my settings back to where they needed to be. So we did a live earlier on the second channel. If you guys didn't get a chance to check that out and you'd like to, it was just us kind of just chit-chatting really, but it was a good live. So if you want to, you can go over to Unfiltered with Tanya and check that out after this live. But don't leave here. So we'll say hi to some people in the chat and then we'll get going with our content for this evening. If you're new to the channel, this is your first time here. My name is Tanya or TitaniumBuilt. You can call me either or. And if you're returning for another video or another live, thank you guys so much for joining me tonight. I appreciate it. I do. I really do. I know that I was looking on the live tab. I didn't see a whole lot of people live tonight. So I was like, oh, okay. It's a hit or miss, I feel like, on the YouTube streets. I feel like either everybody's live or nobody's live. So, hey, Cyber Warrior. Catherine's in here. And KCG. I'll look into it. I haven't even really covered that case, but I will. I'll look into it for you. I've been curious about it. And I think that my take might be a little bit different. And you got a new kitty, Willows? Oh, I want a new kitty. I mean, don't say that. I don't want a new kitty. I want another kitty. I have a kitty. I have a cat. I love him. I love him more than myself. But he's getting older. He's like 18 now, I think, 17. And I want him to teach I want him to be able to teach a new cat some tricks before, he goes. I'm sentimental. Hey, Ladybug. But then again, I'm kind of nervous because we have dogs. Like, I don't know how they would take to a cat because Rocky's not really like a cat. He's never been around other cats. He's like a dog cat. Like, he eats the dog food. He was licking the dog treats today out of the container. I'm like, what are you doing? Hey, baby girl, how are you? So the numbers, okay, the number thing, it's really weird. I thought, okay, so it's based off of, let me go to the other screen and read it because I was reading it earlier. So it's the leaderboard. It says a place for fans to stand out in the community. The top 3 get special badges in the live chat. So it resets like every stream. Basically, what it does is if you they just want you to be more active in the chat. So if you send live chat messages, if you send super chats and super stickers, it'll get you like more like points, I guess, and you'll be like more likely to be like 1, 2, or 3, So maybe that's why you kept switching out too. Because I was wondering why Ladybug wasn't number 1. So I'm like, she's in a super chat. I saw it earlier, but she is now. But I can't see it on my StreamYard, which like that sucks. I can see it on my iPad, and I just have to maybe go through. I don't know if I can. That's too small. I don't want to go on that page. Hey, Kathy. Hey, Captain. Welcome in. Hey, Nancy. And I think it just kind of like goes with the chat. I don't know. Like, I guess it could change. She said she was okay. I think it was yesterday, Kathy, when she was in the chat. I haven't seen Mary Beth tonight, though. Did I miss someone? Hey, Nancy. I don't even know if I said hi to, but I like highlighted it. I think I said hi to Kathy. Hey, Captain. Welcome in, guys. Smoking me a number now, as the hippies used to call joints. What do they call them now? Doobies? New documents. Yeah, they're nothing groundbreaking, but we did get some new documents. And Ladybug, we love you too. We really do. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're a mod. I'm glad you're part of the channel. Couldn't do it without you, girl. She said, I've met some good people here since I found TitaniumBuilt. Oh, there are good people in this chat. They really are. They really, 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 really are. I think about that all the time. Like how good my chat is. Like our chat. It's not just me chatting. Well, kind of, but not, I chat with you guys. Like I literally come on here for everything too. Like I just feel like when, I don't know, the good, the bad, the ugly, I feel like I share it with you. Like I share it all with you guys. Hey, Ash. Hey, Petunia. Like I look forward to coming on every night. I'm like, I'm going to go talk to some of my friends. Hey, Mia Moray. Catherine, I thought I said hi to you, but I don't know if I did. How are you doing? How's your family? How's everybody? Hey, Ryan. Have you been to the shore yet? It's been kind of chilly, I feel like. I don't know if she got into the hospital. Hey, Pete. Hey, Per Anderson from Sweden. Oh, wow. I don't know if we have anybody from Sweden. Princess Elsa's here. Welcome in. If I miss you, I'm sorry. I'm kind of going through. Hey, Ange. Trying to go through kind of fast now, but I was like reading some stuff. So, Kara, who was it? If you don't care to say, I mean, I'm just curious because you said things were getting weird. It just makes me laugh. Hey, Shells. Oh, thank you for saying that you love the intro. Hey, Courtney. I'm going to change the song on the second channel to something a little more relaxing, I think. Hey, Micro. Well, it's good to see everybody in here. You've seen some theories tonight. Oh, gosh. I get on Twitter or X or whatever, and I see like people in there, and they're like, saying DNA, Jeremy, or, Jeremy, the neighbor, like they're going back to that. And they're like, not really, but, they are going like far back. And they're, people are like blaming, people that have already been cleared in didn't have anything to do with this crime. It's been crazy though. Oh, Captain, yeah. Everybody's on the BJ trip. See, I could grow my channel and get a ton of views if I, if I just sat over here and like streamed Brittany and Jay's content and was like mean and not mean, not I mean, yeah, being mean, just just saying what just saying things. Because I could be mean, but I choose not to be. She just isn't worth it, But I could, but I don't. But I mean, like, because everyone is doing that right now. Like everybody. If you guys have not noticed, she's the hot ticket right now to be streaming and oh. You have a new kitten too, 29 days old. Oh, I bet she's cute. I want a little kitten. Hey, Aries, I'm alive. Hey, California Dreamin'. Thank you. I actually got him done pink for Maddie, Maddie Mayday, or, for the month. So, and then next month I'll get him done for Kaylee. Hey, Jenny. I need to figure out what color though. Was it purple that we did for Kaylee last year? Or 2 years ago? I can't remember. I need to look into that because I can't remember. I haven't done anything on Karen Reed. That case, I didn't get into it because of another creator. They went that way, and I was like already going like Idaho way, and it was just like I don't know. I felt like after this person was on the case, I like kind of like didn't want to take it up. It was a weird time, but I really wish I would have. But I do follow it a little bit. So if you have any questions or you want to talk about it, we could talk about it. Hey, ASMR. Well, I appreciate you too. We have been in the trenches, actually. Hey, Frenchie. They exist. Welcome in. Big tornado in Floyd, New Mexico tonight. Oh, was there? Oh, I don't know. I haven't heard. If there's an alternate suspect, then they should leave them open and demand his release. Yeah, if there was, if they had evidence of an alternative suspect, I mean, the judge is asking for more evidence of it. Like he wants to see more. Like you didn't give me anything. So, hey, Lenora. Hey, Phoenix Lee. Okay, I'm gonna get to the bottom. I think. Hey, Sweetly Morbid. I didn't say hi to everybody last night, and then I felt weird after I didn't. Hey, is it Roxico? Get 2 kittens. Oh, brother and a sister. Oh, I bet that's cute. But what if they like California Dreamin'? I wonder if they'll like be mean to my Rocky. I don't think they would. Hey, Stacy. My cat is like, he is like the ruler of the house. Like he's bit the dogs. We've got Araya. He bit her, I believe, like the first night. We got Mia the second night. We had Mia. She bit Mia and drew blood on both of them a little bit. Just a little, not a lot, just a little, enough to say, I'm here and don't mess with me. So I love that. I don't know where Mary Beth is. I hope she comes in. I haven't seen Otto in forever. Seems like it hasn't been that long, but I think Otto's been going through having insomnia. Wasn't it Otto? And welcome in, everybody. It's good to see you guys. If you guys don't mind, take a second, hit the like button for me, even though we haven't even got started yet. We're going to get started right now. And then I just put the chat so it'll come up on the screen as well. Even though it's kind of small. I don't know. I think it's a little small, but whatever. But let's kick off the live tonight with some news that's coming out of Moscow. This is what Moscow is talking about right now in the media town hall, I mean. So it says media town hall raises logistical concerns for Koberger murder trial. So I guess the judge, or a judge, not Judge Hippler, but a judge in Idaho got on a Zoom call with the media, which I'm media, kind of a little. I talk about the media, but they were on the phone or like over a Zoom call, and I guess they let them like ask questions and they answered questions, and I was like, that's pretty cool that they did that because they don't want August to come and I'll probably, and it be a shit show out there. Ada County is huge, but you got to think about how many people are going to descend on that courthouse. There's only going to be so many seats. I want to count the seats someday. I want to try to get a picture of the courtroom. If I can't get a picture of the whole courtroom, we'll use what we have and we'll try to like do the math that way. It doesn't look like there's that many seats at all. And you have 10 people from the Gonzalez family that are going. That's just from the Gonzalez family. That's 10 people. So that's a good amount. If you think about Brian Koberger's family, if they all go, and that's 4, just on his side. Then they have the news, the press that have like the credentials that are going to have like a pass or whatever for this. And then whatever they have left will be for the public, which I mean, I would be surprised if they had any seats left for the public. And then they have to fit a jury in there too. That courtroom up here is really small. Yeah. Oh, they have an overflow room. I always forget about the overflows. So it holds 200. Well, that's okay. That's big. Now you're making me want to get a plane ticket. I'm over here like, should I? Should I or shouldn't I? Do I need to be at this town hall meeting? So I'll play this video here and it'll tell
multiple issues.
It'll tell us exactly what's going on. So here we go.
During a media town hall for Brian Koberger's quadruple murder case hosted by the Ada County 4th District Court, where more than 100 members of the media, both traditional and independent, joined a Zoom call to ask questions directly to a judge.
100? I wonder if any of these people were like YouTube creators. I haven't heard anybody.
Of mind for many attending the session, parking and space for media setup around a trial already drawing
I didn't get it anything enough FOIA stuff.
The front of the courthouse is a beautiful view of the courthouse. That's where media would want to be, but I've never been there. But just in looking on Google Earth, it's not practical. Understand what we had some real estate, a parking lot, a few spots, and where the networks and media, local media too, can get together.
Judge James Cawthon, who moderated the town hall, responded that space will likely be extremely limited both inside and out of the courthouse.
I do appreciate that, and that's something we can talk about further. And to be clear, for those of you not from Boise, there is not an open parking lot. Those parking lots are open for people to park in that come to the courthouse. And a lot of the day, they are quite full.
The town hall comes as pretrial proceedings continue, despite a recent request by Koberger's defense team to postpone the trial, currently set to begin on August 11th. So far, there's been no ruling from Judge Stephen Hippler on that motion. Last Friday, another key deadline passed, this one for the defense to submit further evidence in support of an alternate perpetrator theory. The prosecution now has until June 6th to respond to that evidence.
What was that part?
Hearing on the alternate perpetrator set to begin on August 11th. So far, there's been no ruling from Judge Stephen Hippler on that motion. Last Friday, another key deadline passed, this one for the defense to submit further evidence in support of an alternate perpetrator theory.
Oh, so the deadline was Friday for that. And they didn't put in any evidence. So are they not going with the alternate perpetrator any longer? We'll listen to that one more time. I swear that's what they just said. That the deadline passed on Friday.
Further evidence in support of an alternate perpetrator theory. The prosecution now has...
I didn't go back far enough. Oops.
From Judge Stephen Hippler on that motion. Last Friday, another key deadline passed, this one for the defense to submit further evidence in support of an alternate perpetrator theory. The prosecution...
Yeah, so, Did she file? I thought she did. I was like, man, this is weird. I'm about to say, we're going to go through the documents. I already read them. I think that she might have, but yeah. I think she got it in late. I think she might have got it in late, or maybe because it was a long weekend. I don't know. You know how they be doing things.
Prosecution now has until June 6 to respond to that evidence. A hearing on the alternate perpetrator theory is scheduled for June 16th. In studio, Dakota Castetts DJ reporting.
The snow melt.
And I think that hearing is sealed. Actually, I'm going to go check really quick. Actually, I'm going to show you this first, and then I'm going to check. That is the Ada County Jail. So that's where everybody would be like conversing. They'd be down in the front of that. Now, I don't know how many people they would allow to be standing out in front of the courthouse like that, because they said that they would allow people to another thing came out. But I don't know how many I don't they said that they didn't want too many people to where it's going to like disrupt traffic. So I don't know. I don't know how that's going to work. But it's just an order sealing exhibit. So we'll go over it though. So, okay, these are the documents. There's nothing that's like groundbreaking, so I can go over these with you guys in a matter of seconds. Like, I mean, it'll just take a couple minutes. But the first one, if they are in pink, I like to tell you guys this. If the documents are highlighted in pink, they're from the prosecution. If they're highlighted in blue, it's the defense. And then if they're highlighted in yellow, it's the court. So that's just the way I've always done them. It helps if you come in late and you don't, you kind of want to know who we're talking about. So State of Idaho versus Brian Kohlberger, notice of compliance. So it is a notice that in response to the court's document and records order hold dated May 15th, 2025, the state has lodged with the court for an in-camera review, an ex parte letter, and attached exhibits. So the state has provided the court with documentation of distribution and receipt of the court's order to involve agencies as ordered. And then the next one is going to be, I should make these a little bit bigger. It's going to be the same thing, but it's the defendants. So that's why it's in blue. Theirs is a lot shorter. Comes now Brian C. Kohlberger by and through his attorney of record and hereby provides notice that the defense has submitted a letter with attachments for in-camera review to the court in compliance with the document and records hold order, defense dated May 15th, 2025. And then the next one we're going to look at is going to be about the witnesses and allowing them to sit in at trial, even if they haven't put their testimony in yet. And I think this is more for Brian Kohlberger's side and his family members, because I think that's what they're going to do. They're going to call his family up to testify. I don't know if they're going to try to make the state make them testify, because they can subpoena them, even though they said they were not interested in helping the state whatsoever. Which to me sounds really, that's just perfect. That's really nice of you guys. But yeah, they said they weren't going to help prosecution any. Now, to me, I feel like you probably shouldn't be in there until you do your testimony. But I understand Brian Kohlberger probably wanting his family there, right? Because, you have a DP case. So I would want some support too. So maybe since it is a death penalty case, sequester them somehow. So afterwards, they can't see anything else outside of, the courthouse, but they can just see what's going on inside and maybe get their testimony before they go on the stand. And so that way, if they change anything, they try to change it up, super crazy, then you'll know, they've been listening to other people's testimony, right? That's what I would think. They did it in the Alec Murdaugh trial. They allowed Buster Murdaugh to sit through the whole trial, although he was testifying. And I know there's other cases too, but that's the one that I can think of. So this comes now, Brian C. Kohlberger by and through his attorney of record, and hereby moves this honorable court to amend its exclusion orders in this case to permit mitigation phase witness to watch the trial. This motion is based on the fact that the evidentiary rules do not apply to the mitigation phase as this court has previously ruled. Additionally, the purpose of the exclusion of witness rule does not apply to the mitigation phase. I'm pretty sure it does. Rule 615 of the Idaho Rules of Evidence governs exclusion of witnesses. It says it right there. It reads, at a party's request, the court may order witnesses excluded so that they cannot hear other witnesses' testimony, or the court may do so on its own. The purpose of IER 615 is to allow courts to prevent witnesses from shaping their testimony to conform to or to rebut the prior testimony of other witnesses. The vital importance of sequestering witnesses is recognized as a foundational element of due process in American jurisprudence. The United States Supreme Court observed that this practice, which goes back to our inheritance of the common Germanic laws, serves two purposes. It exercises a restraint on witness tailoring their testimony to that of earlier witnesses, and it aids in detecting testimony that is less than candid. In the mitigation phase, the witnesses are not true fact witnesses, as in the guilt phase. They are not intended to provide accounts of events that are disputed, and thus the concern for the tailoring their testimony does not exist. While it is unclear that the mitigation witness will want to watch any part of the trial, there is no reason to penalize them if they do. This court is therefore requested to amend its earlier exclusion related to orders to permit them to watch the trial. Well, I was just thinking of something. Well, I guess they would maybe they were going to go on the stand first, because the judge did say that he was going to leave 2 chairs open for the victims of the burglary and, of their friends dying, for Bethany and for Dylan. So there's 2 more chairs that are, off the table. Maybe they'll allow people to sit there if they don't come after a certain time, they're not there. And yeah, I guess Jay Loxton wrote that one. So that's what he's been doing. I thought that too, Kara. That I thought maybe he could have been the leak. Hey, Cirrus. Oh, thank you. What were we talking about? Oh yeah, I was thinking Brian could have been the leak, but I don't know. I don't know if it's the defense, if it's prosecution, if it's Koberger. He would have access to all that stuff. He would have access to the photos, I'm sure. Unless they were in his phone and he didn't have access, right? Because if the pictures didn't get downloaded in time to another device, if he wasn't around his MacBook, if he doesn't have an Apple, he has an AT, he has a Samsung phone, doesn't he, or Android? I'm thinking he doesn't have an Apple. I'm thinking he has an Android. And I don't know how those work. If they sync up automatically like Macs do with your iPhone. If I'm by my if my iPhone's by my Mac, it'll sync my pictures up to it. So if he has the power to do that, right? And those pictures, they were syncing up to his iPad, and his parents could get a hold of his iPad, in Pennsylvania, because it was in that common area and they could get those pictures out of that, then yeah. But I don't know, because the surveillance video, I don't think that he would have access to that per se. So I don't know how he would leak that. I'm trying to think of everything that was leaked. We just had people leave from the prosecution, switch out, and from the defense switch out. It's just weird that it's just right around this time where people were coming in, leaving, it's just weird to me. Hey, the Richards Art, welcome in. Hey, Warflare. It was from Ellie on the documentary. So yeah. Then someone from Ellie leaked it. But why would it has to be somebody new, I feel like. Do you know what I mean? Because I feel like it's been 2.5 years and nothing's been leaked, really. They've kept a pretty tight lip on everything. So it's, I'm surprised. I'm really kind of surprised that there was a leak at all. I'm still surprised that we got the 911 call and the transcript and the accounting of what Dylan was actually and Bethany were really doing that night, because we were like hooting and hollering about that for 2.5 years, like pretty much. We want to know what's going on. We want to know the 911 call. We want to hear it. And then we heard it and what are you doing? And so it's just like, I don't know. I feel like we talked about it for a while. We did, but it's just like, I don't know. It didn't have the impact that I thought it did. Like it did on me, but on some people, I feel like it didn't. Like it was just kind of like, oh, okay, there it is. Like, I don't know. Are you okay? Are we good? Okay. Sorry, if you could hear my dog's little claws. Keep grinding up. You have a turtle? That's great. Micro, that does make sense because those pictures were very bad quality. Yeah, I mean, I think it's somebody like recent in there. And you're right, Sweetly Morbid Bear. And then or they'll bring up, case law from the year not even 19, we're not even 1901. It'd be more like 1801, 1701. Okay, so which one were we up? I think we're on this one next, weren't we? So supplemental notice of compliance. And this is from the state. First one was a notice of compliance. This is supplemental notice of compliance. So it just says, comes now the state of Idaho by and through the Latah County prosecuting attorney, and hereby provides notice that in further response to the court's document and records hold order dated May 15th, 2025, the state has lodged with the court for an in-camera review a supplemental ex parte letter dated May 23rd, 2025. So are they saying that they're sending him a letter? I don't know. I think that's what they're saying. Right. The Richards are, yeah. It's whoever can tell the better story, pretty much. I mean, the evidence has a lot to do with it too, but I mean, look at Casey Anthony. Look at O.J. Simpson. I mean, there's not a lot of people, but there are some people that, do get a not guilty verdict. And it takes one juror, We've seen it in Karen Reed's case. She's on her second trial right now. I couldn't imagine. No. He's getting one trial. So they better do it all right the first time. So this is a motion to seal defendant's evidence in support of offer of proof for the alternate perpetrator and exhibits. So they want the exhibits and they want the paperwork and all the stuff that they have for the alternate suspect, all of it to be sealed. So they ask the court to do that. And I believe, what's this? Oh, okay, never mind. I'm like, I thought I read something else. So, okay, so motion to seal defendant's evidence in support of offer to proof, alternates perpetrators and exhibits. I thought I had this one up for you guys. Sorry. Comes now Brian C. Kohlberger by and through his attorney of record, and hereby moves the court for an order to seal the defendant's evidence in support of offer of proof, and says RE for the alternate perpetrator and its supporting exhibits. Well, I want to know what those exhibitees are. I'd love to know. Like, what, I mean, proof somebody else did it. What do you think that Anne could conjure up? Like, even if you could think of the craziest thing, what would you think that she could conjure up to make it to where there was exhibits and such? She could be pulling out her own little dollhouse. Remember she called it a dollhouse? I'm just like, I'm wondering about that. I'm curious about that. I'm really trying to rack my brain. I'm gonna think about this tonight. I know I am. I'm gonna be laying in bed. I'll be like, what would Ann Taylor do? I mean, I wonder what she's doing for her other case. We should be following that, I feel like. I don't know a lot about her, the other death penalty cases she's working right now, but I think that it might. I would like to see how she's working it. Do you know what I mean? Like, if we could get like snippets of her in live in court, and just see how she is with that, client compared to Brian Koberger. Pesky case, yeah. Yeah, I think there's more to the story too. They should have, Donald, I agree. They should have probably tested that DNA. Maybe they did. And they just, we'll find out later. Yeah. If they were connected, that would be something else, wouldn't it? Well, she can only take 2 death penalty cases in the state of Idaho, and I think she just kind of outdid herself because she's over here going, I need more time. Like, no, Anne. No. If Judge Hippler won't say it, I'll say it. No, we're not doing that. We're not giving you any more time. You've had almost 3 years. Well, it's a death penalty case. We don't care. Oh, is it micro? Ooh. It's a woman? That she's. Ooh, that'd be interesting. Well, I was thinking if she did leak the stuff from Dateline, it would be a perfect reason for her to get either the evidence thrown out, like some of that evidence thrown out, or B, maybe they would postpone the trial because she's been wanting the trial postponed. She said she hasn't read through the, terabytes and terabytes of data, which give it to us. We'll read through it, but if you don't have time to read through it all, like, you have to be able to give your work to someone and they're supposed to give you what you need to know, right? You're supposed to let someone else do the reading, get some interns in there. So, I don't know. Yeah, he would separate them, I'm sure. Yeah, ZK Hill. Yeah, they would have come forward with it. Now he would have been out of jail. I mean, shoot, hey, 3 sides. From right over the line from where Brian lived. I'm not sure. Which case was it, over the state line? So it would have been in Idaho? She would benefit more than anybody from the leak. That's what I thought too. The only thing I can think of is like somebody new on the case. You'd have to be just not mature or just not trustworthy, you know what I mean? Like with the information, and maybe they appeared to be like they were trustworthy. I don't know. But it just seems to me like someone, I don't know, someone weird got a hold of it and leaked it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It just feels like this was like a young cop or something. But, or what if it was like like the Richard Allen deal, and someone just in the office at the time and, picks up the paperwork and just, does it that way. You never know. I don't know. People are sneaky. Yeah, she has serious. Yeah, they spent a lot of money on that case. Oh, no, you're okay. 3 sides. Okay, so we only have one more to go through, and then we can watch the podcast. So this is just an order. When I saw this, I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is it!" I thought it was going to be like, he was going to say if he was postponing the trial or something, but it is still marked on the books for August 11th, which is awesome. But it says, as part of the administrative process of this trial, this is from the court, before voir dire begins, questionnaires will be distributed to and completed by jurors at the Ada County Courthouse. In order to maximize courtroom space and efficiency of this process, and because the distribution of questionnaires is an administrative function, observation of this process is limited to counsel and the defendant. Okie dokie. We don't want to see it anyway then. So that is all of the paperwork. Let me just double check, because they are a little bit later than us. Okay, yep, that's it. Maybe tomorrow we'll have some more. Wait, I think I didn't read the last one, did I? Or no, I did. Or it was an order to sealing something. Let me see. It was just this. Order sealing exhibits attached to state supplemental rebuttal disclosure. Penalty phase expert. So based on the state's motion to seal exhibits attached to state supplemental rebuttal disclosure, penalty phase expert Dr. Jason D. Gage filed herein and no objection from the defense, the court does hereby confirm an order that exhibits, I think that's state 1 and state 2 attached to state supplemental rebuttal disclosure, penalty phase expert Jason D. Gage filed on May 27, 2025 are exempt from disclosure and sealed pursuant to Idaho Court Administrative Rule. So do you remember when the judge said that he was going to let us have stuff and he wasn't going to seal whole orders up anymore? He was just going to redact things. Why am I seeing a bunch of sealed orders? It's all the time. I don't like it. We were supposed to, we're supposed to know all this stuff. Okay. So let me get us up here to the podcast. So the podcast that we're going to be listening to tonight is going to explore the investigation on whether there is a connection between the victims and the accused, Brian Kohlberger, who is at the time a 28-year-old, now 30, PhD student in criminology at the neighboring university. And, the University of Washington State University. Investigators initially described the attack as targeted, but faced challenges identifying a clear link between Kohlberger and the undergraduate victims. The episode that we're going to listen to tonight delves into the lack of apparent personal ties, the nature of the crime, and the broader context of the case, questioning whether Kohlberger's criminology background played a role in the murders. It also touches on the sparse condition of Kohlberger's apartment, described as having minimal furnishings like a stripped mattress and a single TV, which raised some questions about his lifestyle and intentions. So I'm going to play this here, and I'm going to put up some pictures for us to like. I'm going to make sure we're on the right one. I'm going back. So I'm like, are we on the right one? Nope. So the first one, actually, I'm going to play for you. I'm going to play this. If I can play this. Oh, yeah, I can. This was just like a bonus content episode, I think. Should we play this one first? Let's see. Yeah, we will. Okay. Actually, let's play this one first. So this is a bonus content, like a bonus episode. It's 26 minutes long. And I just want to make sure everything's good. Because last time I accidentally showed you guys episode 2, like one of the last episodes. And I was like, oh my gosh. So now I'm like paranoid I'm going to do it again. But we're on the right one. It says bonus content. So this is 1 minute left. So, okay, we're going to resume it.
Police officers that are working.
Because I thought this was only supposed to be like 6 minutes long. Okay, it's 5 minutes and 15 seconds long.
Beat on Main Street that are going to the domestic calls and all that stuff. They handle frat parties too. They'd be familiar with these kids.
And thank you,
These
Three
kids'
Sides,
faces
for
would come and go over the years and probably develop relationships with them. I'm sure that probably some of the kids decided to stay after they graduated. Think about that, and we're part of the community. They wound up going to a place of college and they never left. They wound up being part and parcel of that environment. And so when I can only imagine that when this happened, many moms and dads in that town, in that region there, suddenly had that ominous parental feeling that comes over you when something horrible happens.
Do you remember where you were when you found out about the arrest?
I remember hearing from somebody who's pretty reliable that something was coming soon. And I said, well, what's soon? And the person said, I think something's coming in about 3 weeks. And then 2 days later, they announced they're having a press conference.
Is that standard, by the way, to do that?
This was a case that garnered international attention. So I think that they knew that they had to let the public know as quickly as they could that an arrest had been made. So we get news that there's going to be a press conference. And we thought they're not having a press conference unless they've got something major to talk about. So we just started scouring around, and I started texting people who I thought would know. And I got a picture back of a guy named Brian Koberger at Washington State University. And I thought to myself, who's this? This is a PhD student in criminology. This is the guy. So it was pretty stunning.
This is The Idaho Massacre, a production of KT Studios and iHeartRadio. Episode 2, The Face of Fear. I'm Courtney Armstrong, a television producer at KT Studios with Stephanie Lydecker, Jeff Shane, and Connor Powell.
This morning, authorities putting a face to the fear.
On Thursday, January 5th, 2023, University of Idaho murder suspect Brian Koberger made his first appearance in Idaho since his arrest. The day before, the 28-year-old criminology PhD student was extradited from his hometown in Albertsville, Pennsylvania.
Count 2 alleges that you committed the felony offense of murder in the first degree. Count 3, a murder in the first degree. Count 4, a murder in the first degree. Count 5, a murder in the first degree.
After the 4 charges of first-degree murder were read, Koberger, wearing an orange prison jumpsuit and a vacant stare, spoke only to confirm he understood the charges.
The maximum penalty for this offense, if you plead guilty or are found guilty, is up to death and imprisonment for life. Do you understand?
Yes.
Koberger's defense attorney, Ann Taylor, requested bail for her client. Leda County Magistrate Megan Marshall rejected the request. Koberger was led away to his prison cell. But who is Brian Koberger? How did a little-known, mild-mannered graduate student become the only criminal suspect in a quadruple homicide? And if he is the murderer, why would someone who professed to want a career catching criminals become one? When police stormed Brian Koberger's family home in the early hours of December 30th, the sleepy community of Indian Mountain Lake Estates in Albertsville, Pennsylvania, became the epicenter of the investigation into the murders of Kaylee Gonsalves, Madison Mogan, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin.
And Indian Mountain Lake is billed as a Pocono resort community, and it's also a private gated community. And not all private communities in the Poconos are gated, but all gated communities are private, if that makes sense.
That's Rod Devine speaking to producer Jeff Shane. Rod Devine is a nationally known licensed private detective. His firm is Devine Intervention Detective Services and has offices in Allentown, Pennsylvania, which is about 40 minutes from Brian Koberger's parents' home.
Hey, my dad's
They get
from
to bill
there.
themselves as a Pocono.
Their own police force.
I don't know what the heck just happened there, but
So
okay.
the police officers that are working
It has drawn
It like went back to the beginning. Oh, no.
Yeah, I'm out. What major?
I've been a college kids. It stuck out, and it became really clear. I think
I don't know
really early
how
on.
far we were in. Hold on, let's go back. Well, I can't tell because so 4. Looks like we were almost to the end of this actually, but
to have finally
I don't know what
felt
to say.
some justice.
I
And
was gonna say
then
my dad was from
the news
Allentown.
gets you. And sure enough, families crying in a town grieving. I feel like we all kind of knew quickly that we had to jump in.
Yeah, I'd certainly agree with that, Steph. It's for anybody that's ever spent time in a college town, and you have kind of this collegiate family that you're part of, and even if it's not, that's a bit arrogant on my part to say that, because you're talking about all the other people that are part of that university that may have never matriculated from there, but they're the people that serve dinners, they're the people that pull beers, they're the people that fix these kids' cars when mom and dad are not around. Just let that sink in for a second. That whole community is trusted with these kids. When you send your kid to a place like this, there's a whole support system that goes into it. And one little interesting aside from what my understanding is that it's so interwoven into the culture there. You can have certain colleges where they exist in a town, but they're not part of a town. I've worked at places like that where the college is just kind of isolated. They don't really interact with locals. That's not the way. As a matter of fact, the local police department in this town actually police the campus. And that's kind of odd, when you think about it, because most universities, particularly state universities, will have their own police force. So the police officers that are working the beat on Main Street, that are going to the domestic calls and all that stuff, they handle frat parties too. They'd be familiar with these kids. These kids' faces will come and go over the years and probably develop relationships with them. I'm sure that probably some of the kids decided to stay after they graduated. Think about that, and we're part of the community. They wound up going to a place of college and they never left. They wound up being part and parcel of that environment. And so when I can only imagine that when this happened, many moms and dads in that town, in that region there, suddenly had that ominous parental feeling that comes over you when something horrible happens.
Do you remember where you were when you found out about the arrest?
I remember hearing from somebody who's pretty reliable that something was coming soon. And I said, well, what's soon? And the person said, I think something's coming in about 3 weeks. And then 2 days later, they announced they're having a press conference.
Is that standard, by the way, to do that?
This was a case that garnered international attention. So I think that they knew that they had to let the public know as quickly as they could that an arrest had been made. So we get news that there's going to be a press conference. And we thought they're not having a press conference unless they've got something major to talk about. So we just started scouring around, and I started texting people who I thought would know. And I got a picture back of a guy named Brian Koberger at Washington State University. And I thought to myself, who's this? This is a PhD student in criminology. This is the guy. So it was pretty stunning.
This is The Idaho Massacre, a production of KT Studios and iHeartRadio. Episode 2, The Face of Fear. I'm Courtney Armstrong, a television producer.
Okay, that was just a like a little episode, just like a bonus episode. So I'm going to put on the regular episode now. Okay. Kara, who told you that? Was it Truth and Transparency? Hey, Cash. Hey, Lord Mama, because I can't imagine anybody but her really saying that, because she'd be crazy. Hey, Metal Pirate. Hey, Kiwi Mate. Welcome in, everybody. Hey, Harlow. It's good to see you guys. Okay, I'm going to actually... I was going to take the banner down for a minute, but they did a thing on StreamYard, and it's really messing me up. I don't like it because now I don't know. There we go. I was going to say, I didn't know where the picture was to take it off of there. So I'm going to add this to the stage though. And this is going to be the podcast that we're going to listen to this evening. It's 35 minutes long. It's the one that I was reading, just a minute ago. I was telling you it was going to be about. It says, from the start, investigators described the brutal murders at the University of Idaho as a targeted attack. But what connection, if any, is there between a PhD graduate student and 4 undergraduate coeds? So what we're going to do is we're going to listen to this. And then I did pull a article. Yeah, I pulled an article that was just like talking about how they thought that the victims were connected to Bryant. Although, the state has come out and said, and the defense, that there is no connection. So let me play this. And if you guys don't mind, hit the like button for me. It'd be great.
Moscow police are investigating a homicide on King Road.
Cause and manner of death was homicide by stabbing.
This is terrible. It's a bloodbath.
This is The Idaho Massacre, a production of KT Studios and iHeartRadio. Episode 3, In Search of a Connection. I'm Courtney Armstrong, a television producer at KT Studios with Stephanie Lydecker, Jeff Shane, and Connor Powell. An unthinkable nightmare comes to life in the small college community of Moscow. 4 students at the University of Idaho butchered to death in the early hours of Sunday, November 13th. The gruesome murders spark a multi-state investigation stretching from Washington to Idaho to Pennsylvania. The 48-day investigation ended on the other side of the country with the stunning arrest of a PhD criminal student and would-be law enforcement officer named Brian Koberger. Moscow Police James Fry on the arrest.
These tragic murders took 4 young, vibrant lives from our community. These murders have shaken our community, and no arrest will ever bring back these young students. However, we do believe justice will be found through the criminal process.
Was there some sort of connection?
I think that it is likely that there's a relationship between these 4 students and this person.
From the first hours of the investigation, law enforcement officials described the murders of Kaylee Gonsalves, Madison Mogan, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin as a targeted attack. But police offered no other information. Shannon Gray, an attorney representing the family of soon-to-graduate senior Kaylee Gonsalves, said publicly that none of the victims knew Brian Koberger, leaving the question, how was this a targeted attack? Here's Stephanie Lydecker, Jeff Shane, and producer Connor Powell.
Did he say the attorney Shannon Gray? Hold on, I'm losing my gourd because this article is saying something different. Hold on. I'm going back a minute.
Was there some sort of connection?
I think that it is likely that there's a relationship between these 4 students and this person.
From the first hours of the investigation, law enforcement officials described the murders of Kaylee Gonsalves, Madison Mogan, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin as a targeted attack. But police offered no other information. Shannon Gray, an attorney representing the family of soon-to-graduate senior Kaylee Gonsalves, said publicly that none of the victims knew Brian Koberger.
Okay, now we got a problem here. Beep, beep, beep. We got a problem. I'm going to put me back up here. We're going to go over to right here, and I'm going to share this with you instead. So we're going to read through this article really quick. Among the never-ending questions surrounding the November 2022 murders of University of Idaho students Kaylee Gonsalves, Madison Mogan, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin was, did they know their killer? In an affidavit outlining the case, this is from, let me tell you when this is from, June 30th, 2024. Okay. So in an affidavit outlining the case, investigators say DNA, cell phone records, and surveillance camera evidence link the accused murderer, Brian Koberger, to the crime. But his defense attorneys say in a court filing that there is no connection between Mr. Koberger and the victims. Okay. Criminologist and CBS consultant Brianna Fox adds that the defense is claiming that the defendant, Brian Koberger, and the victims have absolutely no connection. There's no motive, there's no reason for this crime to take place, so essentially, it's raising additional doubt in jurors' minds. But now this is where I'm getting confused, because Shannon Gray just said, yeah, there's no connection, but Kaylee Gonsalves' parents, Steve and Christy, believe they have proof of a connection. What? Did you not talk to your lawyer? I mean, really, what's going on here? In the minutes after learning Koberger's name, Christy Gonsalves says, and I always thought this was kind of weird, and I never said anything, because she says, we went online and immediately started Googling. Googling what? there would have been nothing to Google about Brian Koberger at that time. Did she mean she got on Instagram or she got on Facebook? Because like Googling is a lot different. Like if you would have Googled, they knew Brian Koberger's name before anyone else did, right? They knew like the day before the arrest. So if they Googled Brian Koberger, it wouldn't have come up. Nothing would have come up other than maybe this kid that helped save the school, you know, like the teacher or whatever at the school, you know. But I mean, it's just a little weird because it's like Shannon Gray said there's no connection, but then I remember Stephen Christie saying this. They talked with, it says, with 48 Hours correspondent Peter Van Sant for the night of the Idaho student murder, streaming now on Paramount. They said they discovered digital evidence that they showed a tie of Koberger to two of the victims. So do you have like a picture of that or anything? In the interview, the Gonzalez family provided screenshots of an Instagram account they believe belonged to Koberger. Those screenshots include what they say is Koberger's Instagram profile and a list of people he was following, including Maddie Mogan and Kaylee Gonzalez. 48 Hours has not been able to confirm the authenticity of this account. I don't know, you know, but I don't know. I don't know when they looked up the Instagram. That could have been days later. You know, they got that idea to look it up. And it could have been like a fake, you know, Brian Koberger profile at that point. But Christy Gonzalez says when they attempted to cross-reference the accounts of Kaylee, Maddie, Xana, and Ethan, it appeared that this Koberger account had interacted with Maddie's Instagram. You would go to Maddie's Instagram account and look at her pictures, and he liked them, Christy said. He had liked them. Brian's name was under a lot of Maddie's pictures, liked her pictures, liked that picture, and that picture, and that picture, and that picture. So he was actively looking at the Instagram account. The Gonzalez say the account is no longer active, which, I mean, if it's no longer active, it could have been somebody that's got nervous and they deactivated their account, or it was Brian Koberger and his family deactivated it. But it says it disappeared shortly after Koberger's arrest on the same day as the celebration of life ceremony for Kaylee and Maddie. By the time we got home from the celebration of life, it was gone. The Instagram account was gone. Koberger's trial has been set, as it says, for June, but that didn't happen. That didn't happen. So yeah. So I have questions now. I have a question. You know what I mean? I'm not sure. Oh, thank you, Jenna. Send a little kindness your way. I appreciate that. Thank you for supporting the channel. I don't think they had anything in their system. I don't even think they had marijuana. Like that would even surprise me. Like with these kids, they were like that good. Like, and I don't think that's just me, like with blinders or anything on either. I think they just had their drinks and they went to classes, you know, through the week, and then they had fun on the weekends. I mean, I think most, if not all of them, were on the dean's list, you know, so it wasn't like they weren't studying or doing their work. So, okay, we'll go back to the podcast now. Just wanted to read that to you guys because I just thought that was a little strange.
Leaving the question, how was this a targeted attack? Here's Stephanie Leidecker, Jeff Shane, and producer Connor Powell.
I think when we all picture a murder of this size, we picture a masked killer like you see in the movies. But in reality, stranger homicide is extremely rare. This changes from year to year, but typically around 50% of all murder victims are killed by someone they know. So it begs the question, how did the accused, Brian Koberger, know the victims?
It does feel like there has to be some connective tissue in some way. Either maybe they met in passing, or maybe they had some sort of class together.
Social media allows people to know people, but not actually know them. They can follow them. They can essentially digitally stalk them. So he might have known them, and they might never have known him.
And that's actually a parasocial relationship, which is this one-way relationship we have with, it used to be people on TV and the movies, but now with the social media, you really can intimately know someone without ever having met them.
And you can also see the layout to their home. We're on social media and we're doing it in our houses or outside of our houses. And that can be a real tell for anybody who's a predator.
As we know, the victims were frequently posting on social media, which oftentimes showed the layout of their home.
The 6-bedroom house on King Road is tucked away in a residential area of Moscow. It's surrounded by an 18-hole golf course, the University of Idaho's fraternity row, and other residential homes. It sits about 2 miles from the large commercial shopping area where the Target and Walmart are, and about 2 miles from the main downtown bar area.
About 4 years before the crime, I was in Moscow, Idaho for homecoming. I was campaigning for Congress in the 1st District of Idaho, so participated in the homecoming parade, passing out literature, shaking a few hands, waving at the crowd. At the conclusion of the parade, one of my good supporters, who was also in town, a friend of mine and a law office client of mine, had a son who was one of the rental residents leasing that particular property.
That's David H. Leroy speaking to producer Jeff Shane. Leroy is a former local prosecutor turned defense attorney. He served as Idaho's Attorney General. He's also a graduate of the University of Idaho College of Law and has been in the house where the murders happened.
So we went over to the house, ended up on the 2nd floor in a living room area, and chatted with his son and the other 2 or 3 residents who were students at the university at that time, living in the house where the crime would be committed about 4 years later.
What was it like being in there?
A gray 3-story building set in a relatively hard to get to backwater street up against a hill, so that you have a couple of different levels of entry in the house. To go into the lowest level is basically almost a daylight type basement. And then you must walk up a stairway to get to the 2nd floor where bedrooms and the living room area occupy the front of the house.
He made it sound like there was a bunch of entrances and exits. There's as many in this house as there is in any house. The normal 2.
Upstairs, there were additional bedrooms. We didn't visit those, but it's a 3-story set against the hill structure that has multiple entrance levels and multiple exit levels.
You were a student there, so you've, I imagine, lived in different places. Was this house typical of where a student might live in Moscow?
This house was probably built in the 1970s, no later than the 80s. In an area that's immediately adjacent to campus. Literally the campus boundary and the fraternities and sororities that ring the center of the campus against a large hill, which is topped by the University of Idaho's water tower with a big emblematic eye on the exterior of the structure, is no more than a quarter of a mile off campus. It's against a hill with single-family residences and other student population apartment buildings, and it's perhaps no more than half a mile from the center of the campus, 2/3 of a mile from the student union itself.
When they weren't sure who did it, they thought this couldn't be that random because this house was kind of tucked away. It was a little bit it's not like a cul-de-sac, but it's a little bit of a dead end. Like it's not a major thoroughfare. What's your take on that?
Now, there's no immediate arterial proximate to this house. You must turn off an arterial and then off a subarterial and then off that subarterial to go up a hillside almost to a dead end, about 100 or 125 yards before you get to this house. To get to this structure where the killings took place, you have to work at it, and you don't immediately pass by it on your way to anything else.
So it stands to reason that whomever did this did not just stumble upon the house.
One of the issues that was of great concern semantically as these investigations were developing was whether these children and whether this house was, quote, targeted in some way. The initial observations of the law enforcement officials, the prosecutor included, were that there was some kind of targeting, and it was a logical conclusion given where this event happened and the fact that so many students were involved as victims. But it is some place that you need to work to get to and would not necessarily happen upon even if you were looking for a random place to commit a crime.
Here again, Stephanie, Jeff, and Connor.
I went on Google Maps. I just wanted to map out where this house on King Road was. And it's really not a part of the city of Moscow where people would just sort of end up. It's not near the main bar area. It's not near the commercial shopping area. It is a really secluded little sort of neighborhood. A lot of people live there, but it's not the type of place that you would just sort of drive by.
And that's been confirmed by a few people that we've talked to who have actually been to the house, that it's a trek to get there and you wouldn't just stumble upon it.
I think one of the things that is sort of interesting about the house is it really was considered a party house, which really isn't all that surprising given the fact that there's a bunch of upperclassmen living in there, some seniors, soon to be graduating seniors. It's close to Fraternity Row. And I think the real question is like, is there any possibility that Bryan Kohberger would have ever been in that house for some other reason?
And if Bryan Kohberger, is a PhD student, whether he was invited or not, maybe he could have sort of slipped in the back door and without being spotted. Or would that be unusual?
We know that the house had parties where even the girls weren't always at the parties. I mean, there's a police record of police showing up and none of the residents of the house are even there. And they're talking to some people who don't live there. And the police are like, well, you got a noise complaint. We really need to talk to somebody who's on the lease. And so people are always coming and going from this house. But still, how do you get from Pullman as a PhD criminology student to, as you said, somebody who's kind of creepy? How do you end up at an undergraduate house in a totally different university? It just doesn't seem likely that Bryan would have ended up there unless somebody invited them.
If the house on King Road was targeted, as police say, was it because of who lived there? Here's Jeff Shane speaking with reporter Anjanette Levy from the Law and Crime Network.
Does it matter how he knew them?
I think it becomes relevant if he knew them because it's just another dot to connect. I mean, if he didn't know them, if he actually had never interacted with any of them, that's so terrifying. If he's indeed the guilty party, what in the heck is going on? Like, why did you kill these people? I think it's more of like an understanding. It's an explanation, not an excuse. But I think you have to look at, had he ever interacted with them? Because if he's like, I don't know who these girls are, I don't know who these people are, and I have no clue what's going on. Why would I have anything to do with these kids? They're way younger than I was. I'm a 28-year-old PhD student. I mean, I think it connects a dot if he had indeed interacted with any of them.
Bryan Kohberger moved to Pullman, Washington to begin his PhD studies in June of 2022. According to a police affidavit, cell phone data showed he was in the area of the home on King Road at least 12 times between August 2022 and the murders. But did Bryan Kohberger know or have a connection to any of the victims? Here again, Jeff, Connor, and Stephanie.
By all accounts, Ethan being at the house was kind of just chance. Yes, he stayed with Xana a lot, but Xana would also stay at his fraternity house. So based on what we know now, it stands to reason he didn't know Ethan would even be home that night.
Ethan's Instagram profile was set to private, but it seems unlikely that Ethan was the target given the fact that his social media presence was pretty limited and there's no connection between Ethan and Bryan Kohberger.
What a horrifying thought, too, that this could have been a missed night for him, the sliding door of that. What was it about that particular day in the alleged assailant's life that said, today's the day? It just makes you think if he had gotten a flat tire or if he had caught a cold or if the light was red and not green, something maybe could have shaken him out of this morning. And who knows, maybe 4 people could still be alive. This is the stuff nightmares are made of.
All 3 of the female victims, 21-year-old Kaylee Gonsalves, 20-year-old Xana Kernodle, and 21-year-old Madison Mogan had public Instagram accounts. And all 3 roommates regularly posted to social media, including TikTok. It doesn't appear that Madison, Kaylee, Xana, or Ethan knew Kohberger. None of them followed anyone by the name of Bryan Kohberger on social media. However, Kaylee Gonsalves' father, Steve, has said there are connections between his daughter and Kohberger.
Okay, so now we're doing this. This is confusing to me because we heard in the beginning of this that Shannon Gray said there was no connection, and that's Steve's attorney.
but he has not commented on the possible connection.
Oh, I don't know.
With so little information coming out at the beginning, there was so much speculation about the victims and the accused and their movements around the murders. As we know, Maddie and Kaylee spent their final night at the Corner Club, which is a popular bar in downtown Moscow. And people had speculated that maybe Kohberger had been there. He was a regular, that he met them there, he saw them there. There's been nothing to say that that's true. It's possible.
Yeah, it's not addressed at all in the probable cause affidavit. It's not addressed by investigators at anywhere. It's just pure speculation. Sure, anything is possible, but there's nothing linking Brian Kohberger to the Corner Club, either that night or previous nights. And, that's one of those sort of rumors that I think has kind of been shot down, but it doesn't seem that that is the connection between Brian Kohberger and the 4 victims.
There was also a rumor, or there were reports, that Xana and Maddie, as we know, were both waitresses at the same restaurant. And one of the unidentified workers from that restaurant claimed that they remembered Kohberger attending there because he had a very strict diet and had very specific diet requests. But that ended up becoming unfounded as well.
Reporter Anjanette Levy also went to the Mad Greek restaurant and spoke to people there.
I have been to the Mad Greek, and nobody at the Mad Greek that I spoke to recalled ever seeing him there. And they knew the young women who worked there. Xana worked there and Maddie worked there. So the people I talked with at the Mad Greek did not recall ever seeing him there.
The owner of the Mad Greek, Jackie Fisher, also issued a statement that said there is no evidence that Kohberger ate at the restaurant. Let's stop here for a break. We'll be back in a moment. Online and media speculation about a possible connection between Kohberger and the victims has largely focused on some type of social media connection. Did Brian Kohberger digitally stalk Xana, Maddie, and Kaylee? Again, Stephanie, Jeff, and Connor.
According to People magazine, Kohberger followed Maddie, Kaylee, and Xana before the account was actually deleted, meaning his account was deleted. There's no mention of the other 2 roommates. Is that enough of a connection? And again, is this just rumor? The outlet also reported that Kohberger messaged at least one of the victims. They didn't respond. But then apparently Brian Kohberger reached out again and again and again and again and again. Is that stalker mentality? Or is that just somebody on social media who wants an answer on something, and now that's getting blown into something larger?
I actually looked for myself in terms of, did Brian follow them? Because as we know, the victims' profiles were mostly public. And, if you search through Kaylee's followers, for example, there are Brian Kohberger profiles who follow her, but now there's a bunch of them.
Do you think the Mad Greek closed down because of Brian Kohberger? Because I just got on Mad Greek. Like, I'm on their Facebook page right now, and I just wanted to see, what was going on. And it says here, it has Happy Birthday, Maddie, May 25th. So I don't know. And then I'm going to look through it and see if I can see why they're Yeah, it looks like they were selling their stuff back in January. So I'll look. Oh, yeah, I'll keep looking around. I'll keep my eye out.
So it's clear that there are people out in the world who are making accounts with Brian Kohberger's names following these victims, which that level of depravity is disgusting. But to me, that indicates that we as the public don't know for sure if he followed them. Of course, officials might know something we don't, because what People magazine reports that 2 weeks prior to the murders in late October, he allegedly sent a message to one of the victims, basically just saying, "Hey, how are you?" But he didn't get a response and kept repeatedly messaging them over and over again.
What is a person supposed to do? Somebody reaches out to them on social media or DMs them, and they don't want to engage. So they just ignore. But yet that ignoring somehow gets potentially obsessive for the person who's not getting a response. There's no right or wrong answer.
It seems very plausible, and it makes sense that Brian Kohberger was probably using social media to contact them. I mean, that just, as we're trying to find an answer for what's the connection, that seems like very likely, right? But, you know, an unnamed source in People magazine, like how much do you want to actually grab onto that and say, yeah, this is concrete? It still feels like, until we get it from investigators, it still feels like just a theory and just an idea, as opposed to something that you can be like, oh yeah, that definitely happened. That is for a fact, you know, the connection.
Here's Jeff Shane speaking with Anjanette Levy from the Law and Crime Network.
Knowing him, though, is such a loose term. I mean, she could have matched with him on Tinder and said, oh, no, thanks, I don't want to go out with you. And he latched onto that, and she wouldn't have known him.
You're right. And I was actually told that some of the people on Tinder, I was told that some of the kids in that area use Tinder for networking and stuff like that, not just for dating. But I don't know whether that's true or not. Maybe there could have been some type of Tinder connection. I don't know. But as far as them interacting and, you know, hey, we went on a date or we're friends or what have you, I'm not aware of any connection like that. And frankly, I think the fact that he went to Maddie's room first, that to me says a lot. So was she the target? Did he somehow interact with her at some point in time? I don't think we know these things.
Could Bryan Kohberger have seen one of the women online and tried to start a relationship only to be ignored and rejected?
They don't consider murdering women a hate crime, but I think a lot of these cases are pretty much fall into that sort of category where you have white men who are rejected or, you know, they don't get what they want when they want it. And that's why they do it. And it's just such a, like this incel mentality, like where they're just so like women should just be like, you know, falling at their knees to me. And that's not the way the world works. And then they're just so bitter about it that, you know, everything isn't working out for them, that suddenly the world's against them and, you know, they're a victim and it's, you know, poor me.
Chris Spargo is a reporter with the TV magazine show Inside Edition and has been covering the Idaho murders. He spoke to Stephanie and Jeff about Bryan Kohberger's dating life and what he found out about Kohberger's often creepy interactions with women.
Have you heard that he was an incel? Because Jeff and I were talking about that, and it seemed like it was a bit of a perfect example.
An incel is an internet term that describes young men who are frustrated by their lack of sexual experiences. It stands for involuntary celibate. Incels have often been known to lash out at women when rejected.
Hey, it's me, the girl that went on a Tinder date with Bryan. We matched on Tinder.
Chris Spargo interviewed a woman named Haley Willett who went on a blind date with Kohberger when they were both college students. She posted on social media about her disturbing interaction with Kohberger and his inappropriate incel-like behavior.
I recognized him immediately and my heart just sank because I couldn't believe that, like, I was face to face with this guy.
So about 2 weeks after the arrest of Bryan Kohberger, a young woman named Haley shares her story on TikTok that she went on a date with Bryan Kohberger about 7 years prior. She said they matched on Tinder, they talked for a few hours, they went to the movie, it was pretty inconsequential. They drove back to her dormitory, he parked, and she said that she thought they were maybe going to talk. She then said she's going to go up to her dorm room, and that's when she said he invited himself up with her. Now, Haley's very clear that she didn't really feel threatened and she wasn't scared. She just kind of thought he was a very clingy sort of guy. So she said because she's socially awkward, she didn't really know how to say no, and she let him come up. And that's when she said things really started to change. She suddenly became very pushy, and he kept trying to touch her. And when he would touch her, she would say, "What are you doing?" And he would say, "I'm not touching you," and then get very serious about it. And she just said it got to the point where she didn't know what else to do. So she excused herself to go to the bathroom and then made it sound like she was loudly throwing up. But instead of leaving, he just stood outside the door. So she just stayed in there and waited until he finally left. Then when he did finally leave, he texted her that she had great birthing hips. Haley did not ever speak to him again. And she really posted this as just sort of a message to women saying, like, you know, trust your gut. If you think something's off, do the right thing and just get rid of the guy. And again, she said she wasn't.
I mean, I mean, at any age, that's a dumb thing to say, right? But at his age, I mean, he was only 28, 27 when he went on this date with her. Maybe a little bit younger than that even. Like, where do you come up with this crap, Kohbergs? You have great birthing hips? I don't even know what to say to that.
Wasn't afraid of him. She just thought he was an awkward, kind of clingy guy that was probably more into her than she was into him.
Wildly creepy.
And tell us, like, what was her disposition like?
Haley just seemed like someone who was trying to make a point of sort of sending out a message to other women that, like she said, just trust your gut. She did not seem to be looking for any sort of fame or notoriety. She wasn't out courting, interviews or anything. If anything, she was turning most of them down. And she, of course, was dealing with a horrible backlash of people trying to dox her and people saying horrible things about her, wanting to know what she looked like back then versus now. Grossly misogynistic things that happen to pretty much any woman who comes forward in any of these cases, even if they're not involved.
Who cares what she looked like back then compared to now? Look at Kohberger. Oh my goodness, that poor girl.
It seemed like at one point she was getting more hatred for this murder than the actual suspect.
Wackadoodle.
But she was very clear that something was off about him. And this is one of the few people we had spoken to or seen in the media at that point who wasn't from his hometown, that just kind of knew him as a one-off. And there were very few people that we could get like that.
Just the idea that you can go on a blind date with a person who, seems nice enough, to your point, seems to come from a nice family, not a bunch of zombies. You check a bunch of boxes, he's educated, he's on the right track, and come to find out you just dodged a real bullet by locking yourself in the bathroom.
No, I mean, we don't have to even say that. We could say a lot more than that.
Kohberger's troubled relationship with women only seemed to continue and often even escalate during his brief time at Washington State University. In addition to being kicked out of a bar in Pennsylvania for harassing the waitresses, Kohberger lost his teaching assistant job at WSU around the time of the murders.
Brian Kohberger's behavior at the school had been flagged by Washington State University.
This is a really big deal. The out-of-state tuition is $50,000 at Washington State University. So his teacher's assistant job was a really big deal and very important to him. This going away is a real life changer for him.
Kohberger didn't come from money, right? His parents had filed for bankruptcy at least once, and to have your tuition paid for a PhD program is a pretty big deal. But over the course of the fall, what we really see, according to all these reports, is that his professors in the criminology department are really troubled by his behavior. And it seems like some of that behavior is how he treated undergraduate female students and other women in the PhD program.
And is that because he's just odd and awkward and doesn't really have a great sense of social cues? Or again, is this a tale of a real psycho in training?
So there are some things we do know. Kohberger was not the most inspiring educator and had a tendency to talk down to people, especially female students. He would grade them harder and kind of be demeaning to them. We know that on September 23rd, about a month into his role as a TA, there was an altercation between him and his professor, John Snyder, who was kind of effectively his boss. Then just a couple weeks later, on October 3rd, Kohberger and members of the faculty of the School of Criminology had a discussion about the norms of professional behavior and what to expect moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, norms of professional behavior, that's the phrase we've heard a lot. There's other reports that he gets into a screaming match with another female student who leaves the room because of the way he's talking down to her. So, I mean, when you talk about norms of professional behavior, it just doesn't sound like he's acting in an appropriate way. And I think that really is what we're talking about in this entire story of Brian Kohberger, is the way he views women, the way he treats women, and then ultimately what he does to women.
It's interesting because by all accounts, from what we've heard, he comes from a very loving family. So again, it doesn't really fit the familial MO for someone who's, air quotes, anti-women.
No, not at all. But by the end of December, by the end of the first term, Washington State University pulls his TA position funding. And, he essentially has to now come up with that tuition, that $50,000 to cover his program. He's terminated from his teaching assistant position. And so his behavior, imagine what you have to do to get that teaching position just, yanked from underneath you.
Someone allegedly broke into the woman's apartment and moved things around. Instead of calling police, the coworker called Kohberger, who suggested and helped her install security cameras.
Investigators are looking into if Kohberger was behind the break-in and used the cameras to spy on his colleague, Stephanie and Connor.
Can you imagine if this is actually accurate? I know all of this is unanswerable in this regard, but We want to be able to know that the scary person is obvious. And this doesn't seem obvious enough to me.
It doesn't seem obvious, but there definitely is a pattern here. I mean, this behavior towards women, whether it was when he was home in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania, and getting kicked out of the bar there, or it's at WSU, the way he's interacting with undergraduates and other PhD students. Oh, and by the way, he also got kicked out of a program in high school as well. So when you see him on paper, he looks like a really well put together person. But there's a lot of these stories that are coming together that really fit a pattern of somebody who has real serious problems.
But the allegations of Bryan Kohberger's disturbing behavior at WSU don't end there. Police are investigating a break-in at the home of a female coworker. Let's stop here for another break. If Bryan Kohberger was digitally stalking one of the women in the house, many have speculated that either Kaylee Gonsalves or Madison Mogen were his primary target since they were killed first.
Kaylee was set to graduate early and had actually moved out of the house and was only back in town to visit her friends, show them her new car, and just have a fun weekend. So she's not living in this house. We know that Kaylee was sleeping in Maddie's bed because we know that that's where she was found. They were both found in her bed. So if Kohberger had been digitally stalking or physically stalking any of these girls, he would have seen on social media that Kaylee was back in town. Could this have been the reason why he struck on that night in November?
There's multiple photos from that weekend of all of the roommates together with Ethan as well. And so if you're digitally stalking, you see that Kaylee's in town. The roommates are essentially all back together, which is kind of what they were saying, was how great it is to be all back together. And he might have seen that.
Can you imagine too, again, maybe had they not posted on social media the car or where they were or just how happy they were to be together, maybe he wouldn't have known.
Here's Stephanie speaking with Chris Spargo.
If you don't like gay people and you commit a crime against a gay person, it's a hate crime. If you don't like people of a certain race and you commit a crime against them, it's a hate crime. But what if you hate women? What if you are like these young men who feel so entitled to female affection, and then when they don't get it, they carry out these crimes? Why isn't that a hate crime? And why aren't we focusing on that aspect of it? Because that seems to get lost in the mix. And being a woman in this day and age is just negotiations, especially when you're with men. It seems like, how you're going to.
Isn't that considered, femicide or something in other countries? But I guess it wouldn't be because they have Ethan in there.
Behave, how you're going to treat them. You modify your behavior based on the way they're behaving to protect yourself. If you're on a date with someone for the first time, if you're maybe going to go home with someone, you have to sort of map out all these things because you don't know the person they might become once you get into their apartment or they get into your apartment. It's very, very scary. And even on a more sort of casual level, if you're talking to someone and you just don't want to be mean or you just don't want to be outwardly rejecting of them and you're just nice, that niceness can get misconstrued and then used against you as some sort of leading them on, and it's ridiculous.
The relationship between them, well, him, I should say, and is it Kaylee?
We still don't know for sure that there was any specific target. It would seem, however, that early suggestions, for whatever reason, have focused on Kaylee. And Kaylee was getting ready to move out. She got a job in Texas. She just bought a new car. She's going to be working at an IT firm. Everything is sort of coming together for her. Like she was beginning her life as an adult. And then she went out with her friend Madison that night. Xana had gone out with her boyfriend. The other two roommates were also out. They all get back to their apartment. And then where it gets crazy is the time frame, because Xana gets his DoorDash delivery at 4:05 a.m. And at 4:20 a.m., the suspect car is seen speeding away. How do you murder 4 people in 15 minutes?
Kaylee's father, Steve Gonsalves, has said in several interviews that his daughter's wounds were significantly more brutal than Madison Mogen's.
I'll cut to the chase. Yeah. Their means of death don't match. They don't match. Their points of damage don't match.
According to her father, the knife wounds were deep and slashed open Kaylee's liver and lungs. This type of attack is often described as an overkill. It's typically a sign that the victim was an intended target rather than someone who just happened to be there.
Xana's dad told the press that when she was killed, She had defensive wounds, some of which were so bad that her fingers were almost cut off, implying that at some point she maybe tried to grab the knife as it was being kind of lunged at her. So is it possible that maybe she surprised Kohberger after hearing the other people were killed and he was on his way out? We also know that Ethan's neck was slashed, which would imply that he was not in bed, but maybe somewhere in the room, in the doorway is what we've heard. So while Kaylee had the deepest wounds in comparison to Maddie, without other information, it's hard to know exactly what that means.
Yeah, Kaylee's dad has mentioned that her wounds were way deeper than the other roommates. That's obviously something that investigators are looking at.
While impossible to know yet who Brian Kohberger was specifically targeting, there are disturbing details about his final days in Pullman, Washington before driving home. Here again is reporter Chris Bargo.
I personally think that he knew he was not going to be able to go back because he wasn't kicked out of the program, but he lost his TA position. And if you are a TA, you get an in-state tuition and they waive it for a year. And there's all these sort of allowances. But if you're not a TA, you have to pay full out of state. And suddenly he has to pay like $48,000 to go back in the spring. That's a huge leap for someone who didn't really have a job before that. So I don't know that he would be able to do it. So either he moved everything out of that apartment knowing he wasn't coming back, or he actually lived like that, where there was no shower curtain. There was,
Oh, no, he had a shower curtain.
It was no furniture in there, one TV. And I think that when the public defender came to get the stuff, she took like a TV, a CD tower, and like a monitor. And that was it. So it's just sort of a very bare bones, chilling sort of setup.
More on that next time.
Wow. So yeah, he lived bare bones minimum. Didn't have a lot of things. Minimal. I guess lived minimalistically, I guess, if you would. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Some people do, but if he didn't have like a bed though and stuff, he was just mattress on the floor. He already didn't have pillowcases on his pillows. So don't even get me started with that. But at the same time, it's not uncommon, but it is uncommon for a 28-year-old man, but not for like a college kid, but he's a PhD student. So, I don't know. Probably should have a bed and all the things that you would need to live in a house. You would think that his dad would make sure that he was set up before he left him. I mean, you know what? Let me write that down. I like my notebook all the way under my desk, like towards the back. Let's go over. Like tomorrow on the live, we'll go over like what was in Kohberger's apartment. Like we'll watch the video of them bringing all of his stuff out, like in the crate. They had like a crate full of stuff. I can't remember exactly. They had I remember a computer tower, and then we'll go over the search warrant as well and see what all they took out of there. And then we'll go and we'll do the tour of his apartment that you can actually like go in and do the virtual tour and see if we put all that stuff in there, how much room it would actually kind of take. Like visually, we'll have to do that. So a guy that is so smart is in fact really stupid if you think about it. Yeah. I think, Shadow, that he didn't have very many common street smarts. And that'll get you every time. It'll get you every time. Just like the Google searches. I was like, where's the guy? We were waiting on him. And then here we are, we've got searches and going to Amazon, buying a K-bar and the knife sheath, which I think it comes with the knife. But then buying the sharpener, which that's what I don't understand. The sharpener. Why buy the sharpener? Unless he thought maybe the knife wasn't going to be sharp enough. I mean, I don't know. That street smarts is what I've got. I'm book smart. If I like apply myself, I sit down, and I apply myself. I'm book smart. But I'm very street smart. Very cunning. Very sneaky. I'm just kidding. I'm not sneaky at all. Let me show you these two pictures though before we jump off of here. These are not this, but these. Look at the boots. Maddie's mom and Kaylee's mom. It was for Maddie's birthday. So cute. It looks like an older version of Kaylee and Maddie. And then they have this picture here. And that's her sister. Very cute. Very sweet. Thought I'd show that to you guys. I'm so glad they got their page back. You have multiple sharpeners and multiple knives? Well, Ashley, I wouldn't mess with you. We had a knife sharpener back in the day. My parents did. We don't have one now. But we don't have good knives yet. We haven't even bought knives yet. We've bought like 3 or 4. Somehow, funny story, not really that funny. I lost 3 spoons in one day. Don't know where they're at, but I count. I have OCD, so when I put the dishes away, I count them, and I make sure they're all there because there's only so many for 2 people, like. And I'm like, I call Vince. I'm like, where's 3 of our spoons? I think we threw them away. I think we thought they were like disposable spoons because they're black. Our silverware is black. And so like, I think we just had a dumbass attack and threw it away. But 3 spoons in one day? How do you do it? Yeah, I'm really bad about counting stuff too. Yeah. I count it. And like Vincent was like, yesterday, he's like, man, I wish my red shirt was clean. He's like, I'd wear it. And I'm like, it's clean. It's in the dryer. And he's like, I just wore it last night. I'm like, I told you, it's like a hotel around here. You put it in the laundry one day and it's folded in your closet or whatever the next. Maybe there is a ghost stealing them. Maybe, if I find it somewhere weird, I'll be, wait. The only thing I can think of is we do use the spoons for like the cat food sometimes, like to get the cat food out. And I'm wondering if Vincent sat it in the sink and the dog took it out of the sink. Because now you got me thinking. I'm going to go look for spoons. I bet you. Oh, one of them is rubbing their face back here. It's really cute. Mia, is your face itching you? You're being really cute. Her little face is itching her. My spoons must be my missing socks. I normally wouldn't count. I don't think if I did. Yeah, I never counted when I was younger. Like when I lived with my mom, I didn't count. But I do count. And I went to Target to go see if I could find some more spoons. Well, they don't have where you can just buy like 1 or 2 black spoons. So you have to buy the whole like kit. Like, you get like a set of 8, I think, or whatever, 4. It's like $60. I'm not trying to spend that much money on some spoons. I lose the weirdest, most randomest stuff. I don't know where they would have went. It just bothers me. You know what I mean? When it's like, I hate losing stuff, guys. I'm the worst. Like, this is me being really cool about losing it. Like, I'm being really cool. Normally, like when I lose something, I'm freaking out. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, where can it be? Like, and it's mostly because I'm blind in one eye and I'm hard on myself. You know what I mean? Like when I lose something, I'm just hard on myself and I shouldn't be. But we'll find some more black spoons. Shoot. Maybe I'll go to go to Ross. Yeah, I was gonna say maybe I'll go somewhere else and try to look for them. I think we got the spoons set at like Sam's, so maybe they'll have them at Sam's again. Kids use them to dig holes. Hey, me and my mom did that. We had my brother got her a tomato plant and a pepper plant or something one year, and she didn't have a thing to like for a garden. So I was like, what we're going to use? We used a fork and a knife, or a spoon and a knife. Kenny, I agree. I just got a new shower curtain and it was $7. It was on sale. I know, Ash, I can't help it. I do get hard on myself whenever I lose stuff. And I know I shouldn't. And then I'm like, and then I know I get anxious-y, and then I probably make Vincent anxious-y. But he's been like doing great. I mean, he's always doing great, but even greater than great. Are you ready to go? There's the gray dog. Someone asked us today about what kind of dogs we had. I went to TJ Maxx to look for like some makeup, and because I wanted to get Clinique, and we don't have a Macy's anymore. So I went there to look for it, and I leave Vincent. He's like, I'm going to the dog poop aisle. Like he meant for like the dog poop bags. And I was like, okay. And 10 minutes later comes back and he's like completely full with stuff. He's got like dog toys and everything. And so he got the little lamb chop toys, you know, the dogs just love those little like lamb chops. He got the lamb chop, and one of them is just the head of a lamb chop. It's really weird. I'm like, that's kind of creepy. Where's the rest of its body? But the dogs love it, and it squeaks so loud. So loud. It's, I'm like, what are you doing to us? So they didn't have it in here tonight, or you guys would have heard it the whole time. But thank you guys for being here. Oh, at JCPenney's? Oh, I have to try there. We have the pennies. They took our Macy's out, and I was so mad. I lost one of my earrings I got from Macy's. It was like my gold hoop. Those were on sale. Like they were a really good price. I'm not trying to buy any more. Oh, and your clothes washer. Oh, Lori, that's a good idea. If you could do that, yeah. I like TJ Maxx. But yeah, he was just like ready to, you know. We do have a Sephora. It's inside of our Kohl's, so I hate having to go inside of a store to go inside of a store. I like Estee Lauder too. My grandma used to wear Estee Lauder. And then a lady that I used to look up to as like my mom, she wore Clinique, and she always had really nice skin. So I'm like, and I usually wear that or Bare Minerals. I don't have like a whole, like, I'm not really picky, but I just have to be sort of picky because of my eye, you know. So some like powders I can't, like loose powders aren't really good for me to use because, you know, flows everywhere. And then some of the mascaras and stuff I got, like, so I'm trying a new mascara today. We'll see. I don't know. So we'll see. And then maybe I'll do a video over it or something. But thank you guys for being here. But say if you want to talk about organization videos, I could get you some. You should see my place. Everything has a spot. And it's all marked. It's all like color coordinated or like marked with this. It's bad. My mom used to wear, it was Elizabeth Arden though. Yeah, Elizabeth Arden, Red Door. I have a bottle of it. Someone bought it for me because I said my mom wore it, and so they bought it for me for my birthday. Talk about making me cry, right? It was a good friend of mine, and she bought it for me, and so now I could smell it whenever I want. And my house is labeled with the label maker. Hey, actually it is. Well, thank you. I appreciate that, Shadow. And thank you guys thank you for being here. I'll put the next podcast out tomorrow sometime during the day. I'm going to do a live on the second channel also probably. And then we'll be back over here tomorrow night at 9:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I will be here. If you guys want to subscribe over at Unfiltered with Tanya, that's my second channel. And yeah, I think that's all I got for you. So we'll be back on here tomorrow. I'll see you guys all then. Have a wonderful evening. And yeah, bye.
Just like the street lights lit this town, like a fire in a blaze, gotta burn it down. Can't be afraid to leave this out.